What is going on? Welcome inside the Red Mile Rundown, episode 44. It's here, guys. It's preseason hockey for the Calgary Flames. The hockey season is upon us. I am your host of the show, obviously, John Easthope, as always, and alongside me to help me overreact to all things preseason, Robert Munich. How we doing, Robert?
Doing great. Zane Parekh era has arrived in Calgary. Started off with a bang last night in the split squad game. Life is good.
Yes, absolutely. We are going to get into all of the talk of the preseason coming up here in just a second and more, of course, on the show this week. Before we get into that, I'd like to thank everyone again for the support of the show, the likes, the subscribes. And brand new, last week, we started a Facebook fan page. Please go on Facebook if you're still on that app. Like the page, interact with other Flame fans and us here at the Red Mile Rundown. It's been a lot of fun putting that page together, and I appreciate those who are already part of that group page. Robert, last night, split squad, Flames, Oilers, Battle of Alberta. What'd you make of it?
Well, number one, it's a split squad game, so take everything with a grain of salt.
They're the worst, to be honest.
Last night was really bad. The game in Calgary was awful. It really was. The Flames were just incredibly dull. But in these situations, split squad preseason, I don't really care what the veterans do. I could care less. They could play the worst hockey of their life. I don't care. The whole point of the preseason is for the vets to kind of get their skating legs back and get ready for the regular season. So with these games, I'm more so looking at, what are the younger guys doing? Are anybody like Sam Honzik or guys like that? Are they stepping up? Are they showing that they're going to be a step above the AHL? Can they be NHL players heading into this season? So that's kind of what I was looking for. To start on a positive note, I think you have to go to Zane Parekh.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, I thought he was by far and away the Flames' best player. He was their most impactful player. He was the guy that was out there creating scoring chances when really nobody else was. He was extremely dynamic from the back end, and it honestly didn't even look like he was trying that much. And I think part of it is just that's just the way he plays the game, and part of it was I think it's a split squad, and he's also not 100% healthy, which is a little concerning for me. But I thought he was really good, and he showed signs that, if he's not the quarterback on the number one power play unit by the second half of the season at the latest, I think it's a crime. Because you can already tell, just based off watching last night, you're like, this guy can run an NHL power play already. So my first positive will be Parekh. I thought he was really good, and I'm really excited to see what else he can do throughout training camp here.
The thing that stood out to me most about Parekh, and I tweeted this out, was the guy was everywhere. He was literally everywhere. You look offensive zone, he was there. You look defensively, he was there. So he really showed off his pace, his ability to keep up the pace of play, his ability to track the puck, to know where he needs to be positionally sound. I love what you said about the power play, because I was going to bring that up as well. I think this guy might almost, if he wasn't a rookie, this guy would be your power play one quarterback right now. Absolutely would be. So once he gets his feet wet, I think why not give him that responsibility, because it can't be any worse than what you saw last year on the Flames power play from the point. Zane looked settled in. He looked good. He looked as advertised. Hopefully whatever's bothering him ailment-wise, they really take him easy in preseason here, because you don't really want to run him to the gills in these nonsense games. But it was nice to see him get out there to play, to show off his speed, his skill set. I really thought that Gridden did a lot of the same things. I think until he had that pizza up the middle, I thought he had a pretty good game for himself, showing why the Flames really drafted him as a first-round draft pick, why they really fell in love with this guy, why they talked him up. And he showed off that skill we saw in the Q last year, if you watched any of the games in the Q. So I really thought Gridden did well for himself. Obviously, there's still going to be some growing pains for this guy, but I really think that the Flames hit a home run with this draft pick as well. So for me, Gridden would be my second standout for the game last night. I'm not sure if you noticed him as well yourself there, Robert.
You know what? I'll touch on just a couple other standouts.
Sure.
There's not much really to dive into with these two guys, but I thought Sam Morton looked really good. I really liked his skating. He looked really fast out there. I thought he was making a lot of smart plays. Drew a penalty. I thought he was really good on the forecheck. There's just a lot of elements to his game that I was really impressed with last night. And it wouldn't surprise me if he's going to be one of those last cuts by the end of camp, whether he's pushing to be a 13th forward or the fourth line center. I really think that he's going to push. So I really liked his game. And then I don't know if there's like NHL potential for Nick Cicek or Cicek, however you want to pronounce his name. But I thought he was very impactful last night. Easily the most physical defenseman on the Flames. I thought he made a lot of smart plays in the O-zone. And I just thought he showed well. And I've never seen him play before. So this is kind of like a first time for me. And I was pleasantly surprised. I thought he was really solid. And I mean, there's a lot of competition between, spots 6 through 10 in the Flames defensive depth chart right now. So he's in the mix in the conversation in that regard. So
yeah,
good on him. I thought he stepped up and I thought he played really well. So those are the other two guys that kind of stood out to me. And just in terms of grit, and like I kind of saw it a little bit different. And I'm definitely in the minority. Like I know I had some people on Twitter last night. Like I posted, I thought that he was just kind of average, and I had a few people reach out and just say like that they thought he was really good, and that's great. Like that's kind of like the whole point of hockey and debating is that everybody sees it differently. So yeah, I just thought because of the situation he was put in with Kadri and Coronado, I was hoping just to see just a little bit more from him, mainly in terms of just like offensive generation. I thought like he fit in, he made a few decent plays there, but I didn't see him like really get his shot off. I didn't really see him like set up his teammates in advantageous scoring positions. I didn't really see him show like any sort of like dynamic element that we've heard about and that we saw in the rookie games from him. So I thought he was just okay. Like it wasn't enough for me to go like, whoa, okay, like this guy might push for a spot. And I kind of felt that way about pretty much every young forward outside of Morton. And I mean, Morton's old as shit. The guy's like 26 years old. I can't even count him as a prospect anymore. But I'm curious, like out of the Stromgrens and Honzigs of the group, did any of those younger guys kind of stick out to you in a positive way?
I'm glad you brought up Stromgren because this is a guy who the Flames drafted in the second round, and a lot of people are wondering why they took him over a few other guys drafted around there. And this was,
God damn it.
I wasn't going to bring it up, but you went there. This is a guy that got built up last year. People were raving about last year. So I'm like, all right, William Stromgren, this is a good year for him to really flex and show his ability, maybe push for jobs, that whole 9 yards. And I didn't notice him at all.
Nothing.
And so that's what I found for a lot of the guys around there. I thought Honzik was the same. There wasn't really anything there for me. I thought Kirkland was okay. I thought Morton had a better game than Kirkland, so Kirkland better watch out for that fourth line center job. You got to make sure you play really, really well. I thought Suniev was fine. And then you mentioned the veterans there. None of the veterans really popped for me last night either. They were out there getting their cardio and their reps in, which is what you want from your veterans. But a little disappointed we didn't see a guy like a Honzik or a Stromgren really try to put their mark on this game, whether they would. And I'm not just talking about points either. I'm talking about show the battle level along the boards, show the willingness to get into the dirty areas, go to the soft spot in the zone, make yourself available. Those kind of things that they're known for in their games. You just didn't see it from those guys. And when you have guys like Parekh skating around and skating circles around his own teammates like that, it makes it really noticeable that there's levels to this, and the level that some of these guys are on is a little bit scary because Stromgren, what are you now? The guys picked after you. You mentioned Stankoven. Massive deal with Carolina. Top line guy out there for the Hurricanes. Big minutes. Guys right around where he was drafted all over the league getting this time, and he's still stuck in what looks like a middle six AHL level type role. So that's what I'm really going to be watching for coming up on Tuesday and other games for the Flames in preseason here. Guys like Stromgren and Honzik, what can you bring to the table, and what can you show that you can bring to this table? Because right now, the AHL Wranglers look like the best fit for these guys, and you don't really want that. You want these guys to be pushing your veterans, to pushing guys like Sharon Govich and pushing guys like Farabee, saying, hey, you might be an NHL veteran, but I'm here to take your job. Keep me from taking your job. And you're just not seeing it. And it makes it a pretty easy decision at the end of the day for the Flames to put out guys like Farabee and Sharon Govich and whoever else you might want to name and not worry about these young kids coming up. So I really want to see more push from these young kids. That's just how I felt about it. I really liked watching guys like Gridden and Parekh skate around. I just wanted more from these middle guys, and I just didn't see it.
Yep, me too. I felt the exact same way. And with Stromgren in particular, this is just the way I see it. This is his last chance. This season is his last chance to make a name for himself and to push for an NHL roster spot. Because just look at the players coming in the Calgary system here. Like, you got Cole Reschke, Cullen Potter. Like, I know they're not pro yet, but they're coming up in the system. You got Gridden, Basha, Sunia, Battaglia, Stocksilius, Honzik, Wittenbach, like Misa. There's all these guys that have basically stepped over Stromgren right now. Like, I had in like our Flames Nation prospect ranking, I had Stromgren ranked as the 19th best prospect in the system. I had all those guys I just mentioned, and Cairns is in the list too. All those guys are ahead of him. So, you know, the possibility of Stromgren having an NHL career is dwindling by the second. And in this preseason here, if he doesn't step up, you know, that could be the end of him in the Flames organization. And, you know, or, you know, in the first 20, 30 games in the American Hockey League, he's got to go down there and dominate. Because if he doesn't, then it's over for him and with the Flames, which is unfortunate. But, and, you know, I'll be honest, like, I've never been a big Stromgren guy. I watched quite a few Wrangler games last year at the Dome. I was never impressed by him. I find he's wildly inconsistent. The only time I've ever been really impressed by the guy was in that very short Calder Cup playoff run. I think the Wranglers played a couple series, and the one was against the Tucson Roadrunners, and he was their best player. Outside of that, he hasn't done anything. So he's got to get it going, or else his time in the Flames organization is going to be over here pretty soon.
And he's playing for that too, right? Because he's an RFA at the end of this season. His contract's up at the end of the 26th season here. So if he'd be really easy to move on from after this year if he doesn't show anything. Absolutely. And I'm not saying this guy doesn't need to play 50 NHL games or 40 NHL games this year, but show that you're ready to be that 13th forward or that next call up. Put yourself in a spot where you're almost undeniably the next guy, or put yourself in a spot where at the end of the year, you're the guy called up because, say, Sharon Govich got injured again, or say they needed another scoring threat because they traded away a certain guy. Be that guy that can fill the spot when something else happens down the road here. He doesn't have to make the team out of camp, but man, put yourself in that spot where you're undeniably the next guy or the next two guys. A la what Andrew Mangiapane did a few years ago would be a good example, in my opinion, for that one.
The other, I was just going to mention one other guy. It was just Honzig, and I saw online, like, after those two rookie games, like, there were people saying like he was the best player on the Flames and like he was dominating out there. And, you know, I watched the game in Edmonton very closely. I didn't think he really made an impact at all. Like, I was very surprised to see the praise heaped on him for those games. I didn't watch the game in Calgary, so I can't really comment there. But, you know, between the rookie game and what I saw last night, I think Honzig's a guy that needs to go to the American Hockey League. Like, I'm seeing some people online saying, like, you know, Honzig should get time in the top 9. Like, you know, they should trade Joel Farabee and they should put Honzig in that spot, like all that kind of stuff. And, like, I'll be honest, I don't think he's really even close to being ready for the NHL. Like, I think he needs to spend an entire season in the American Hockey League and stay healthy and actually make a difference. Because last year, like, in the games that I watched at the Dome, like the Wrangler games, he was non-existent out there. And I think he's one of those guys, because he's so big and he's so fast and he's a talented guy. Like, you got to see more from him. Like the skill set and the tools are there. It's just, I'm just not really seeing him putting it all together. So I'm definitely taking a patient approach with him. Like, if he spends the next 2 years in the American Hockey League, that doesn't bother me at all. But, like, I think he needs to take some big strides here, because from what I saw last year and what I've seen early on this year, like, I'm not all that impressed, to be totally honest.
It's going to sound like excuse making for him, but he was part of that COVID stuff. He missed almost an entire year with injury. And so for me, for Honzig, I think he's right where he should be, because he's lost all that development. So I think for me, he needs to be in the American Hockey League because he needs that extra time to develop. And there's nothing wrong with that. Yes, that was a loaded draft. Yes, the Flames left talent on the board. Yes, at hindsight, that pick wasn't the best pick, but you've made that pick. Now you got to live with the results of that pick. And so for me, if you still want to get the best out of Honzig, the American Hockey League and all the minutes you can feed that guy, the special teams, you can feed that guy to develop him at that level is just going to do both the organization and the player a ton of good. So regardless, in my opinion, of what you think of Honzig as a long-term NHL player, it's not going to happen this year, in my opinion. It's got to be developed out of him a little bit more, and you got to kind of take into account that there's two-ish seasons worth of he didn't play enough for the development to happen. And so when you're that far behind, you're going to fall behind. And unfortunately, guys around him that were drafted, like a Matthew Woods, looks really good for the Predators in their organization, and so on and so forth. The other guys that were drafted around him, Perreault in New York, looks really good. It's just going to take some extra time. And unfortunately, the Flames took a swing and they missed on that draft pick. But now you got to make the best of it. So for me, regardless if you liked him or not in those preseason games or the pre-tournament games or the rookie games in Edmonton, he's got to go to the American Hockey League. He's got to play. He's got to develop, and that's where I'm at with the player. And hopefully down the road here, he can be someone that the Flames can rely on, because there's still room for him in the organization if he can put it all together. Because who wouldn't like a big-bodied left shot that can play? I think he's more of a winger, but he can play down the middle if you need to. So we'll see how that goes for Hanzik here. I really wanted to ask you about one more guy before we moved on with the show here, because I saw 2 discords online on social media about this player, and half the people thought he was like the best player in the game, and they got mad at Pat Steinberg for not talking about him on the post-game show enough. And the other half were like, well, he was just there. What'd you make of Suniev last night for the Flames in his game? I'm not really sure where I fall on the side of if he was good or not, but there were flashes that you saw nice things from Suniev, but then there were also shifts leaving you wanted more. What did you make of Suniev in your eyes, Robert?
Honestly, basically what you just said right there. Like, I thought he was pretty average throughout most of the night. Like you said, he had a couple flashes here and there where he showed some high-end skill and made like a couple nice passes. I thought he made a couple nice plays on the power play. Like, he was on that second unit. So, he showed those flashes. Like, I would argue out of all the young forwards that we've been kind of talking about, he was probably the most impactful out of all of them. At the same time, it's not really saying much because that whole group was not very good last night.
Yeah.
So I really think that Suniev will be an NHLer. I don't see the need to play him in the NHL this season unless it's like the end of the year and the Flames are out of it. I am all for him spending time in the American Hockey League, just like Hanzik, just like Gridden, basically all those guys. I want them all in the American Hockey League.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's any point in playing them in the NHL this year. Just like Suniev, he was playing like 35 games in the NCAA last year. Like, he was in the BCHL, like going from BCHL Junior A to the NCAA to the NHL. It's a massive jump for a guy that was picked in the 3rd round. And I'm all for him just playing the whole year in the American Hockey League. Go out there, score 20 to 30 goals as a rookie, show that high-end talent, show that high-end skill, and then just develop. And then, maybe he'll get a few games at the end of the year, or if he's playing really well, maybe he becomes that guy that's the first call-up. Mm-hmm. That would be great. But yeah, just I'd like to see him in the AHL. But, in terms of last night, I thought he was just okay. Just all right.
One of my favorite things about the preseason is the overreaction. And when I saw Hunter Brustevich wasn't playing in either game, and the Discord online about what Hunter Brustevich is and why isn't he playing, and what are the Flames doing? Like, why are we playing this guy? What'd you make of him not playing yesterday, and what are your expectations for Hunter Brustevich this season? Because this is a guy who has been talked about a lot about potentially filling a Rasmus Anderson role, or being a guy that comes up at a camp to start a season with the Flames. Where do you make of Brustevich and where the Flames should be with him?
Well, on X, CMP Dave Dubbin, Flames insider, he had messaged me and he had said that there's a cold or a flu going through the room right now, and I think that was the reason why some of those guys weren't playing, like Sharon Govich, Huberdeau, Brustevich, King, like those types of players. I think there's like a bug going through the room, so I'm not reading too much into it at all. If Brustevich is 100% healthy and they just held him out, maybe it was because they were trying to give some other guys a look before sending them back to the American Hockey League or back to junior, whatever it may be. But overall, I'm not concerned whatsoever, unless like for the next training camp session, they come out and they say Brustevich is injured, then yeah, that would really suck, because you don't want to see him start the season with an injury and have to play through it all year. But yeah, I'm not too concerned about it right now.
You pose a very Great question in our rundown here as we were talking about the show. Is the preseason a good evaluation tool? I'm going to leave this open for you, Robert, then I'll react afterwards. What do you make of the preseason? Do we overvalue what it brings to the table?
I think we completely overvalue it. And it's funny that we're saying that because you and I are breaking down a split squad game right now.
Right?
We're diving deep into that. So that's kind of hilarious. But like in the grand scheme of things, I think evaluating players during the preseason is just a terrible idea. And the reason why I say that is, so like say like a young guy like Sam Honzik last year, he has a really good 5 or 6 game stretch there. But who is he playing against? He's playing against a lot of American hockey leaguers, and he's playing against NHL veterans who don't want to get hurt and who are just kind of going through the motions. That's not like a great competitive place where you can totally evaluate how a player is doing, in my opinion. So, and like if you take a look back at some of the players that have made the Flames out of training camp, like young guys and 19 through 21 years old, who aren't like 6 overall picks like Matthew Tkachuk. So I'm talking like Juuso Välimäki. I remember in 18-19, he made the team out of camp. He lasted about 10 or 12 games and then played the rest of the season in the American Hockey League up until the playoffs. And then there was Dylan Dubé. He made the team out of camp. He ended up getting sent back down after about 10 or 12 games. Mm-hmm. Sam Honzik last year makes the team out of camp, has a phenomenal preseason, looks like one of the best forwards on the team. He was clearly not ready to play in the National Hockey League, and he ended up getting hurt. He ended up getting absolutely smashed by Connor Murphy, and I think part of that was just because he wasn't ready. Yeah. But because he played really well in 5 preseason games against veterans that aren't trying and American hockey leaguers, they think that he should make the team. And I think that's just kind of ridiculous. So like for this preseason, when it comes to Matt Gridden, Idar Suniev, Sam Honzik, Andrew Basha, like those types of players, Hunter Brstevich, they should all go back to the American Hockey League. They should not make the team out of camp. Preseason is just a terrible, terrible place to reward players for their performance. What I think the preseason is good for is just show Craig Conroy, the management team, that, hey, I'm pushing for a spot. Mm-hmm. And when you send me back down, I'm going to be one of the first call-ups. Like, I think that makes a lot of sense. But to reward a guy a spot on the opening night roster just because he played well in like 5 preseason games, I just don't think it makes any sense. And I think it rushes kids and it rushes them to the point where they're not ready, and it's actually not good for them. And they're just going to end up getting sent down. But like, I know you want to reward guys. That's kind of like the whole point. But at the same time, you got to be realistic. And, the Dubé, Välimäki, and Honzik examples, I think, are perfect ones of why you shouldn't rush guys and why you shouldn't start them in the NHL. Like, just start them in the A. There's nothing wrong with that. That's kind of how I feel about it. Like I see like a lot of people like in the media and fans talking about like, how Gridden should make the team out of camp. And I'm like, I just don't think that's the right way to approach it. Like, if he has a really good camp, that's great. Send him down the American Hockey League. Let him dominate down there. And if he dominates in the AHL and he has a really good preseason, then he's the first guy that gets called up when someone in your top 9 gets hurt. That's kind of how I would view like the rewarding, like kind of like the reward system, if you want to call it that. So yeah, overall, I don't think the preseason is a good place to evaluate players. I actually think it's a terrible place to do it.
I'm so glad we're getting rid of some of the preseason games, though, coming up with the next CBA. Because
thank God.
It's too many, because you have 8 games right now for the Flames in the preseason, and like you were mentioning there, you fall in love with some of these players based on what you see them do. Like, it's just the amount of love for Gridden is great. It's fine. I understand it. But at the same time, it's like, is he going to be an impact maker on an 82-game schedule in the National Hockey League? So for me, the preseason is get your reps in, get your work in, show that you were the right draft pick, show that you are worthy of that second contract, show that you are ready and willing to put in the work required of you to take the next step, and that you're ready for the next step when that opportunity comes along. You can reward guys in other ways than besides putting them on an NHL roster for the starting of the season. Yeah, okay, great. It's a good cookie. But what does that get you at the end of the day? We've seen lots of guys flame out early in their careers because they're rushed along. So for me, preseason it's too long. It's too much. It's overdone. I sound like a big hater of preseason because I am a hater of preseason. I like the fact we get hockey games again, but it's just for me, it's about getting your reps in, getting your skates in, allowing your veterans to get their legs under them before things start for real, and allows your prospects a chance to play with some of those veterans to learn what it's like to be a pro. The best thing about last night is Suniev and Gridden and those guys. They were playing on the same ice surface as Mikael Backlund and Blake Coleman. Those guys are able to show these guys what being a pro at the National Hockey League level is like. Guys like Nazem Kadri could take guys under his wing and show them what it's like to play at this level. That's what I like about preseason. But as far as evaluation tools, why did you scout this guy for 3 or 4 years before you drafted him? Why did you pro scout him before making a trade in the case of a guy like Sharon Govich? That's what evaluation is in games, in competitive games. Not in NHL preseason where things are handpicked and cherry picked. Like the roster they're going to send to Seattle is going to be god awful. How can you evaluate a roster that has 3 NHLers on it and a bunch of kids playing against a stacked Seattle club with then they're trying to get their veterans a few skates? So it's hard to evaluate guys. It's not a fair evaluation to some of these guys as well. And at the end of the day, you're just setting up guys to be unsuccessful. How many people are down on Sam Honzik because of his last season? Well, we all loved him during preseason. And then come the season, he gets injured back to the American Hockey League, and people are complaining about how he isn't a top-line player in the league anymore. So it gives people a false sense of what this player actually is. Use preseason for what it's worth. It's worth the reps, and that's about it for me.
Yeah, like a player going to the American Hockey League and playing really well or dominating means 10 times more to me than the preseason of the NHL. Because, like, in the AHL, you got a bunch of guys that are just grinding. They're working their asses off because they want to show that, hey, we're NHL players and we're going to do everything we can to get to the NHL. But then the preseason is junk. It's dog shit hockey in the preseason. So people put way too much stock into it. And, maybe you and I are out to lunch on this one, and maybe the preseason is a great place to evaluate. It'd be interesting to talk to someone in hockey about that. But I think it's just the way you and I see it. Like, it's terrible hockey, and it's not a good place to evaluate. But like I said, like, it's not like it's meaningless entirely. You should reward people for having good preseasons by saying, hey, go down the AHL. If you continue to play well, you're our first call up or you're our second call up. That's where the reward should be, in my opinion, not making the team. Because, like, it's just what's the point of rushing a Gridden? What's the point of rushing a Suniev, especially on this Flames team that has a lot of NHL talent on it already? I just don't think it makes sense.
There's already a logjam on forward group, right? There's
Absolutely.
13 guys for 12 spots. People keep saying. We'll see. The next guy on our list here, Robert, he's a guy who had some good preseason, started a season with the Flames, was sent back to the Western Hockey League after a few NHL games, and then spent time in the American Hockey League with the Abbotsford Heat at the time before finally being a full-time NHLer. He now is the captain of the Calgary Flames, who has signed a new 2-year contract extension at $6.5 million a total. So 3.25 per season. What'd you make of the contract extension for Mikael Backlund? How excited are you to have him around for the next 3 seasons at least? And it sounds like he's going to get his wish of playing in the new building.
Well, you mentioned the Abbotsford Heat there. That's a blast from the past. Like,
I have that jersey, by the way.
You have an Abbotsford Heat jersey?
I do.
Oh my God. Is there somebody on it?
There is not. No, the Flames played, the Abbotsford Heat played one game that inaugural season at the Saddle Dome. I don't remember who it was versus, and I happened to go up there for that game, and they had an Abbotsford Heat store. And so I took it upon myself to spend the $120 and have a memorabilia jersey for it.
It's a collector's item now.
It's pretty awesome. I'll dive even further into the bank. I also have the Omaha Ben Knights.
Oh my God!
I have both home and away of those ones, and I have the lesser known Quad City Flame jersey.
Oh my God!
So
that's unbelievable. What a collection!
I'm still on the hunt for that St. John Flame one, but I have a lot of the other affiliates.
No Stockton. No.
I do not have a Stockton Heat jersey. No,
it's probably a good thing.
Yeah, I don't think I want to remember those years as much. All due respect to that team.
I used to live close to Abbotsford when the Heat were in town, so I'd go to a bunch of games, and like that was like when TJ Brody was playing down there, and
nice.
Greg Nemish and Sven Barchi. It was Leland Irving, Danny Taylor. That was quite the team. But what a stupid idea to put the Flames farm team in Canucks country. Like, I kid you not, there would be nights like they used to have these every Tuesday. It was Looney hot dog, Toonie beer nights.
Nice.
And I kid you not, there's probably 700 people there. Like
wow.
even $1 hot dogs and $2 beers couldn't get people into that building. It was really bad, but the hockey was great.
The Flames made 3 interesting choices when it came to their farm team. Abbotsford, obviously, Stockton, so most of the continent away, and then the weird Adirondack year.
Bizarre.
Where let's put our team in the furthest spot possible with no flights out of, and see if we can make that work. And then they made a mess with the mascot and the whole 9 yards of that situation. So the Flames are not known for notorious decisions with their farm club until they moved them to Calgary.
Yeah, and then they put him in Stockton, like the most dangerous city in the United States, where players are being told like certain areas they can't go, they can't wear red out in public. Like, what were they? The
team was red, and the team wore red jerseys. That was the dumbest thing ever.
So dumb. Oh my god! Like even like Connor Zary was on Missing Curfew the other day, and he was talking about just how crazy it was. Living in Stockton, like the house him and Jacob Pelche were living in had like bars on the windows, and it sounded insane. Yeah, that was not a good idea. Thank God that the Wranglers are here now.
No kidding.
Anyway, Mikael Backlund.
Yeah, Mikael Backlund.
Yeah, the captain signs a 2-year extension. Yeah, I mean, this is like this is like a legacy contract, right? Like,
yes,
this isn't like, we desperately need Mikael Backlund on this team. We appreciate everything you've done for this organization. We want you to become the all-time games played. We want you to remain captain. We want you to play in the new building after playing in the Dome for, what's going to be 17 years, almost 18 years. Like, that's a long time to be playing the Saddle Dome for anybody. So yeah, it's a legacy contract, and I don't mind it because I see some people saying that it's blocking prospects, but I don't know if I see
who's it blocking? Who's it blocking?
That's exactly it. Who's it blocking? Like Cole Reschy and Colin Potter are still a ways away from becoming NHLers. Rory Cairns, like maybe he could be a center in the NHL. No, Sam Morton looks like he tops out as a 4th liner in the NHL. Like there's no center prospects coming, so he's not blocking anybody. And the thing that doesn't get talked about enough is Mikael Backlund is still an incredible defensive player. And who's going to take on those matchups if he were to go? Like if he were to become a free agent or if they were to trade him, who's taking on those matchups? Who's taking on the hardest minutes? Who's taking on, those number 1 penalty kill minutes? Who's taking a million faceoffs in the defensive zone? Who's doing that? It's not Kadri, and you don't want Kadri playing that role. It's not Morgan Frost. He's not a good defensive player as of right now, and that could always change. So Mikael Backlund still fills like a pretty important role for this team, and the way I see it kind of playing out is I still see Backlund as a top 9 forward this year, next year. Maybe in the last year of his deal, maybe that's when he becomes like a 4th line center, kind of like Matt Stajan was. But I still think he's an effective player. Like the downfall of Nazem Kadri is of Mikael Backlund is wildly overrated, in my opinion. Like I still think the guy can play, so I'm happy with it. I think he's a good captain. I think he's a good leader. I think it's super cool that a player wants to play in Calgary for literally 17, 18, 19 years of his career. I think that's awesome. I think it's a good sign to the rest of the league that this is a good place to play and it's a good city to live in. And yeah, I'm a big Backlund fan. I've always been a big Backlund fan, and I'm happy to see him potentially break that record. And the thing I'm really excited about is just him playing in the new building. I think that's going to be really cool for him, and I think it's going to be a big accomplishment for him and the team. And I just think that's going to be awesome. So I'm a fan of it. I know lots of people aren't, but I think it's solid, and I got really nothing negative to say about it, to be totally honest.
If people who are hating on this, I find extremely weird. This is a guy who grew up as a Flame. You drafted him, you developed him. He was a center. He's been a good center for a long time. What he does well, he does really, really well. And the things he doesn't do so well, he still does mediocre and good enough to be a National Hockey League centerman. People are acting like they've signed a 47-year-old Damon Langkow or something to the roster. This is a mid-30s NHL player, a veteran. a captain in the National Hockey League, a guy who does a lot of the dirty work. He's got the trust of his coach, and more importantly, he's got the trust of his fellow teammates. This is a guy that gets 110% every shift. He takes onus of his mistakes. He's never in the media blaming others. He's not a guy that you meet in the community and you think, oh, I hate Mikael Backlund. He loves the community. They love him. He does a ton of work outside of the Flames as well. And you come down to this roster and you laid it out beautifully there, Robert. Who's taking that role on? And so this is a guy who can usher in the Cole Reshnys, the Potters, because those guys aren't going to be NHLers for, wow, look at it, probably 2 or 3 years, so the end of Mikael Backlund's contract. So he's not blocking kids. He's a good example for those prospects coming up. He's a guy that you can lean on and grow with. And at the end of the day, if you tell me that the last year of this contract, he's your third-line center who specializes on the PK, I'm happy with that, because this is a guy you've got 18 seasons, depending how it ends here, of one uniform. And that's special to me, man. When guys can do that and have that kind of a legacy and they want to be here and they're still effective NHLers, you love it.
It just doesn't happen in Calgary. Like, it's cool that it's happening here.
Yeah, it's a really great point. How many people have left because of it, right? As much as we love Jerome McGinley, at the end of the day, he left. You know, at the end of the day, a lot of these other guys have left. McInnes left. Neuendijk left. Gary Roberts left. Go down the list of guys who left and went elsewhere to finish their careers. So this is awesome for me. I love this guy. I've been a fan of this guy. I bought the number 11 jersey the year he switched from 60 to 11. Had it ever since. It doesn't fit anymore because I got fat. But Mikael Backlund is a great player. He's a great leader. You can't have a team of all 23-year-olds in the National Hockey League and be successful. It just doesn't happen that way. You need a veteran leader, and he's perfect for it. And I think the regression of Mikael Backlund, it is happening. He is coming down from the player he was 3, 4, 5 seasons ago. But at the same time, it's not a fall off the cliff regression. It's been a slow Father Time's catching up, so I'm not as quick as I was last year, but the brain still works really well. He's a fine player. This is a good contract. And at the end of the day, it's just over $3 million. And how can you not, with the salary cap going up, such an easy to swallow salary at the end of the day as well. So for me, this is a win for the Flames. This is a win for Mikael Backlund. Obviously, this is a win for the organization, prospect-wise, because he's a guy that these guys are going to learn from. And so at the end of the day, I love this contract. And it's going to be exciting to watch him lead the Flames out onto the new ice surface at the new arena.
And let's not forget, last season, he was playing through, my understanding was 3 injuries.
Mm-hmm. And he was still good.
And he like, around the 4 Nations break and after the 4 Nations break, like, he wasn't the same Mikael Backlund. But, like, that's because he was hurt. Like, he was, like I said, 3 injuries. So, for people to say, like, oh, last season was just an indication that Father Time has caught up with him and he's going to be terrible this year, I just don't think you could be any more wrong with that type of statement. You have to consider, like, how banged up this guy was last year. Like, he was super, super hurt. So just keep that in mind as we head on into the season here in the next 3 years of Mikael Backlund's contract. The other thing I was just thinking, like, which Flame has played the most games with the team and the Flames were, like, the only team they ever played with? Like, obviously it's Mikael Backlund right now, but, like, behind Backlund, who is that? Like, is it Lube? Like, Honkin' Lube?
Jeez.
Because, like, he only played, like, a few seasons in the NHL, but it was all with the Flames.
Yeah.
Like, can you think of another guy that would be up there?
No, because you think of all the high-profile guys. Derek Morris left. Theron Fleury was gone. Neuendijk was gone. Roberts was gone.
Regier left.
Regier left at the end of the day. Like, you look
Conroy played in a bunch of different places.
Kiprasov came from another team, so he doesn't even count. Like
exactly. Yes.
You look at the list, and it's pretty much Mikael Backlund.
Yeah, and, like, some of, like, the younger guys on the team right now, but because Monty left, Johnny left, Chucky left, like, Bennett. Gio should have been a career Flame. Gio totally should have been a career Flame. That whole situation sucked. Seeing him go to Seattle like that. That was brutal.
That was so mishandled.
I mean, they should have traded him. It was ridiculous that they didn't trade him. I understand why they didn't protect him, but, like, they should have traded him or committed to him and said you're a Flame for life. But that's in the past. But I literally think it might be Honkin' Lube.
It might be. It just might be. Off the top of my head, I cannot think of one other guy. Everyone else
played
played somewhere else.
games with the Flames, and only the Flames. Interesting.
It is interesting. That brings up the question, though, Robert. Do you retire 11?
Ooh, no, I don't retire it. There's got to be a way. Really, you'd retire 11? Okay, let's hear why. Let's hear it.
Well, we just talked about why. This forever a Flame thing can go away as well. So retire 2 and 25 properly, please. But I retired 11 for a couple reasons why. This was a guy who spent his entire career with his organization. At the end of the day, barring catastrophe, he's going to lead your entire organization in games played for this franchise. He's a captain. He's not going to be a prolific. And people always look at the goals and assists and points as a reason to retire a guy. He brings more to the table than that. What he meant to the Calgary Flames as a player, what he means to the community as a guy, I think warrants enough for me for the length that he's been here, which is going to be close to 2 decades. I think it warrants enough for me to put his number in the rafters because this is a guy who's achieved a lot with this organization. He's given his entire his adultness to the Calgary Flames and into Calgary. And this is a guy who has good points. He has good statistics. And so for me, with that C on the front of the end, if he becomes a lifelong Flame like he's going to be, I think I put in the rafters.
Interesting.
I know people are going to be like, well, he's only like, what is he, like 8th in all-time Flame scoring, something like that? I don't care. I don't care because this is a guy who brought more than points to this organization. He brought more than just, hey, a couple of goals. This is a guy who poured his heart and soul out for the Flames. It's going to be 17, 18 years. I think he's done enough. I think he's been that big part of the franchise for that long that he deserves it.
I mean, there's no arguing what you just said, and there's other franchises.
The Kings did it to Dustin Brown, for heaven's sakes.
Brown was a better, like at his peak, Brown was a better player, and he also won 2 cups.
Sure.
So I get what you're saying. It just, I guess it all depends on like how much do you put on greatness on the ice compared to like the community stuff. It's like, do you have to hit like a certain threshold of play on the ice in order to get that honor? It's an interesting question to ask, but like there are other teams around the league that have retired, long-time players that maybe had more of an off-ice impact than more so than on ice. Like I look at like Chris Phillips in Ottawa. Like is Chris Neal retired there too? I think Chris Neal's like honored there in some regard. Like in Vancouver, they got Stan Smeal's number, and he never put up like crazy numbers or anything like that. So it wouldn't be like unprecedented to put his number up there. But I totally agree with you. Go ahead.
He's 1 point from being 6th all time in scoring for the Flames.
Yeah, the more we're talking about it, the more it's almost like you're convincing me to say yes to that, because everything you just described, he's a captain, amazing in the community, great leader, mentor for young players, also a very good player, not a great player, a very good player for a long time. Like I remember I was doing research for an article last season, and I think from the 2014-15 season to the 22-23 season, I think that was like 9 or 10 years. Mikael Backlund received Selke votes in all but one of those seasons. And a couple of times he was 4th.
And think about who was winning those Selkes at that time, right? That's Patrice Bergeron territory.
Yeah, and Kopitar, and he didn't stand a chance in those. But like the fact he was getting votes, like I think that says a lot. Like not a lot of guys can consistently get Selke votes like that. Like he's been a very good two-way forward. I'm just thinking out loud. Like is the on ice play, like the points are there because of the longevity in the games played, but like is like the caliber of play on the ice for Backlund at a point where he can get his number retired? That would be the question I'd pose to a lot of people out there, and it'd be interesting to hear some feedback on that.
I'll take it one step further. I know it's just numbers, but I'll take it one step further. He's 45 points away from being top 5, and he's 64 points away from being top 4. So with a really good season, Mikael Backlund could be in the top 5, maybe top 4 if it really hits a tremendous season of all-time scoring for the Flames organization. So if you're going to tell me that points stuff matter, there's my example. Like he's going to catch Johnny Gaudreau with a good season this year for 5th all-time.
But he's going to do it in like 600 more games.
He's going to do it in close to 1,100 games, but still.
Yeah. It's impressive. I'm not taking anything away from him. It's just all kind of part of the debate. Who would he pass if he gets to 4th? Who would he have to pass? I'm curious.
He would catch Joe Newendike.
Oh wow,
who a lot of people regard as the best forward all time outside of Iginla, right? So, like, you're talking Mount Rushmore of Calgary Flames at that point.
Yeah, you know what, the Flames, they're not this like super historic franchise with a long history of greatness. Like it's not like there's this crazy standard for getting your number retired in this city. Like I you know what, the more you're talking about it, like I said, the more you're convincing me, I might be on the side of retiring his number after this conversation here.
I know this doesn't help Mikael Backlund's case because Joe Nieuwendyk was ridiculous. So Joe Nieuwendyk has 616 points. He did it in 577 games.
Wow. God, I wish he would have stayed.
Ridiculous.
Well, but then we wouldn't have got Jarome Iginla.
Yeah, that's true.
But
I'm more mad at the El McInnes one than I am the Joe Nieuwendyk one.
Yeah, just seeing all those guys leave sucked. I mean, I wasn't alive for it, but just like, just knowing that like this amazing team that they had constructed and had so much success together just dismantled at the snap of a finger. That's not great.
Yeah.
You know what? I got to think about it a little bit more, but right now I'm kind of on the side of, I think it might make sense to retire his number after all this stuff that you've been talking about. I think I might be on your side here.
I knew we'd be on different sides of this conversation because, you know, I know you respect Mikael Backlund, but a lot of people look at him like he's not this flashy guy. He's not this undeniable player. But at the end of the day, what he brings to the ice, what he does for this team, the longevity, all is part of the conversation. So as good as Joe Nieuwendyk and Al McInnes are, they're only forever a Flame, which is ridiculous. As good as Jarome Iginla is, as good as Kiprusoff is, I think Mikael Backlund's right there for a lot of things that we put out there. He's just not going to be this point per game player that a lot of these other guys are, but longevity does speak for me. And this is a guy who I think he earns it the more that you look at what he done.
Yeah, and you know what? I like the idea of the Flames franchise putting a lot of value into things like leadership, into things like community work. Like nobody does even close to the amount of community work that Mikael Backlund does. And it's actually one thing now behind the scenes, a lot of these players might be doing stuff. They might be doing like children's hospital visits and stuff like that. And it just doesn't get, recorded or, photographed. But it feels like the players these days aren't doing as much community work as they used to. And the one exception to that is Mikael Backlund. Like him and his wife, Frida, do so much. Like I think they support like 4 or 5 different causes. Like it's remarkable. So a lot of like the money he's raised and the leadership he's brought to the community, I think should be taken into consideration when you're thinking about honoring somebody like that. And like I said, like in Ottawa, like Chris Phillips has his number retired. It's no different than retiring Mikael Backlund's number. So yeah, I'm kind of into it now. I'd be curious to hear what people say. I might put that on social media and see what kind of response we get, because that's a really interesting topic.
For me, there's a lot of Mikael Backlund hate on social media, and I don't understand why.
I don't get it either.
Just because this guy isn't Anze Kopitar or isn't Patrice Bergeron with all the points as well.
And he's not Jarome Iginla either. Like there was like a certain standard set for the captaincy in Calgary, and that was like Jarome Iginla is like, the most hardcore NHL player out there. Like he could score 50 goals. He'll beat the shit out of you. He'll hit. Like he was an amazing leader. So like the standard for the C was set very high. And same with Mark Giordano. You could throw him in there. And Backlund's just a different leader. Like he's not like the guy who's going to knock you out. He's more of the guy that's going to like encourage his teammates behind the scenes, and he's going to play hard, and he's going to lead by example. He's not like the raw, I'm going to beat the shit out of you and score 50 kind of guy or win a Norris. So I think that's another reason why some people don't really like him as a captain.
And to them, I say poo-poo, because you look at the day that he signed that contract and the golf tournament that day, if you listen to the radio or those interviews people gave and the way that they talk about Mikael Backlund, like the reverence and the awe around him signing that extension, him being the captain of the team, like those guys are in awe of what Mikael Backlund brings to this team. Like guys like Mackenzie Weegar were just talking him up, and we all knew that Weegar was up to be captain of the team at the same time. That he was one of the other choices a lot of people were batting around. But the way he's just fallen in behind Mikael Backlund to help lead this team. So the veterans like this guy. The kids look up to this guy. The coaching staff, I don't think he trusts anyone on the team more than Mikael Backlund. It speaks a lot to who he is as a guy and as a player. And just because he's not going to have a point per game and score 40 goals doesn't make him a bad player. And so the people online that are bad talking him, yeah, he's not Sidney Crosby. He's not Patrice Bergeron. He's Mikael Backlund, and he's still a good NHL player. He's a tremendous human, probably a better human than half the people or most of the people on social media. Let's be honest. And look, you've been on social media. Don't give me that. This is a guy. He's a stand-up gentleman, and he's a guy who's a good hockey player, and he leads by example. And a lead by example captain, it's viewed differently than a rah-rah captain, absolutely, but they both have their value in the right spot. And I think Mikael Backlund brings that to the Flames, deserving of the contract extension, and deserves to lead this team onto the ice in the new building. I'm excited for it.
Yeah. No, all great points.
Put 11 in the rafters.
I like it.
All right. Let's before we run out of time here, Robert, let's go to our last point here. We could talk about Mikael Backlund for another half hour if we really wanted to. Let's talk about some storylines, though, as we're watching Mikael Backlund and the rest of the Flames put out some preseason games, and we've seen training camp for about a week now. Some storylines that we're watching for this season, Robert. What's your top storyline that you're watching as preseason is underway here?
Yeah, I think the thing I'll be looking for most is just what sort of like line combinations are we going to see? How are they going to fit all these puzzle pieces together?
Mm-hmm.
Mainly up front, because I think the blue line's like it's pretty much locked in, like in terms of like being Parekh as the third pair. I feel like that's pretty much locked in, and you'll have Pahal as the number 7, and then Hanley, Weegar, Ball, Anderson. So I think that's locked in. But like the forward group really interests me. Like, you know, can Justin Kirkland become the fourth line center? And if he does, who comes out of the lineup? Is it Ryan Lomberg? Is it Martin Pospisil? Is it Klapka? Is it a rotation of those guys? That'll be interesting to watch. You know, it sounds like Morgan Frost and Joel Farabee had a really good night in Edmonton last night, which is awesome. So, you know, where do they fit in the lineup? Who's going to play on the wing with Backlund and Coleman? Like right now it's Zary, but could that change? And then, you know, what sort of fit is Matt Coronado with Huberdeau and Kadri? And, you know, I've said like a bunch of times on the podcast here that I'm skeptical about the connection between Coronado and Kadri. I don't know if they fit in terms of play style. So it'll be interesting to see how that works. Because in theory, if you could have Huberdeau, Kadri, Coronado, your 3 most talented offensive players, connect and become like a legit, you know, bottom of the half NHL first line, that could be really exciting for the team, and it could be huge for the offense. So all like the configuration with the veteran players and among the forward group is what I'm mainly looking for here. I think it's going to be fascinating to see how it all plays out.
Yeah, it was interesting seeing Zary with Backlund and Coleman as well on a line. I thought that was an interesting combination.
And he played well there last year with those two guys. Like if I'm not mistaken. So like I think that's an interesting combo.
So if you can have Coronado hit a home run with Kadri and Huberdeau and have Zary with Backlund and Coleman, I think you're setting yourself up for some really good success. And I think it allows the rest of your lineup to kind of flow a little bit more naturally. You'll put Sharon Govich and Frost, Farabee maybe not in a third line type of role and help, you know, maybe have a third line that can produce some offense. I think it's really interesting to get that top 6 going that way as well. I like that one a lot.
Hey, just quickly.
Yeah.
What do you think about sitting Lomberg? And going with the fourth line of like Pospisil, Kirkland, Klapka?
I think those 4 guys you just named there should be in a rotation. I am not against sitting Lomberg. I know that's probably an unpopular opinion, but for me, the energy he brings is great, but so do the other guys. They bring energy as well. And maybe some time off between games for Lomberg keeps him fresher longer, allows that motor to keep going. But then I think it also helps push those other guys on that line as well. So I'm a big believer in having kind of a rotation on a fourth line there, keeping guys fresh. And you know, that way you can have guys in that, because one guy sitting in the press box for like 17 games, that's what good and use is that player if you actually do need him in a crunch time situation. So I don't mind the idea of sitting Lomberg. I know a lot of people hate it, but I like a rotation on my fourth line personally.
Yeah, I mean he brings a lot to the table in terms of energy, which I love, and leadership. I think he's one of the best leaders on the whole team. And to see a guy like that sit out might be tough at the start, but I'm with you. Like I think a rotation kind of makes sense. And hell, like if Sharon Govich is playing like crap, if Farabee's playing like crap, like they could be in that rotation too, right? I just like last year, Lomberg, he only missed 2 games, and that was like for the birth of his child.
Yeah.
He played 80 games last year. Like, I don't know if he needs to play 80 games. Like, Pospisil's a better player than he is. Klapka's a better player than he is, but Lomberg does bring the physicality and the energy and the leadership, which is very important. Don't get me wrong, but I'm wondering if he's a full-time NHLer this year. If it were up to me, I like that idea of a committee with that fourth line. I think that makes a lot of sense.
And he won't be a disturber with it either. Like he's a team guy, right? And he loves his guys. He loves being here. He's all that. He's all that.
He's the last person on the team that would make a big deal about it.
Yeah, but I think he'd understand it as well, right? He knows his role here, so I like that. That's a good storyline to watch. The forward group is it seems set with the 13 guys, but I wonder if there's somebody in there that can upset the apple cart a little bit, and that's what I'm going to be watching, Robert. We talked earlier in the show here about the Stromgrens and the Sunievs and the Griddens and so on and so forth, and the Hansiks. That's kind of where I'm watching. Who is that next group of guys or guy who can set himself up to be, say, that 14th forward or first call up front, can be that, next defender to separate himself from the group, looking at guys like Kuznetsov and Solovyov, add Bruce Stavich in there as well, Jeremy Poirier that a lot of us forget about. Can one of those guys separate themselves from the pack to be, quote unquote, the next guy? So I'm kind of watching that at campus. I know we talked about how bad preseason evaluations can be, but you can still have a really good camp to set yourself up for the next guy, to be the next one called up, to be the guy that is relied on at the American Hockey League. So kind of the AHL development of guys is what I'm going to be watching throughout camp. Here's one of my storylines. So I'm really fascinated to see what you can get out of some of these guys once the season settles in, and say the Wranglers get off to a really hot start. Well, who's leading that charge? Or they get off to a really bad start. Well, who's actually playing well for the Wranglers, trying to pull them out of that slump that they're in? Whatever the situation may be, who's the next guy for me? And we listed off a bunch of them on the show today, Robert, of who that could be. It's going to be fascinating how that list shakes up and who actually comes to the forefront of that list. Be interesting for me to see how that shapes up. I know goaltending's pretty much set, and you see the defense pretty much set. There's a long list of forwards here that maybe they can upset the apple cart here. We talked about maybe sitting Lomberg. Maybe someone comes in here and upsets the apple cart a little bit and forces their way into that top 13.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we saw it with Hansik last year. So like, who can be that guy? It'll be interesting to see if someone steps up and does become that player. There is the goaltending battle too. I know it's set in terms of like it's Wolf and then it's Cooley or Przvetov, but seeing which one of those two gets the backup job will be pretty interesting to watch. Obviously, Przvetov now has the leg up after yesterday because Cooley did not look good in that game in Calgary. That was actually one of the worst games I think I've ever seen him play. He looked shaky all night. Like even on his saves, he didn't look very comfortable. And it sounded like Przvetov played really well in Edmonton. So, 0.1 to Przvetov in the preseason here. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But yeah, like the roster is mainly set, like you said, and I don't know if there's going to be those battles to earn an additional spot because, like, say Gridden works his way onto the team. Like, who's coming out of the lineup? Who's coming? Who's going to get sent to the AHL? Are they going to go with 14 forwards? Like, those are kind of questions that I think are going to be really interesting to see how they get answered here.
Yeah, barring injury, like you have your 13 forwards, you have 7-8 defensemen. Like barring an injury, it's going to take a big training camp from someone else to force their way into there. So, is it Prospetov or Prospetov? Because I was watching a broadcast yesterday or on Friday. I was listening to a show, and Francis says it one way and Steinberg says it another. What is the pronunciation there?
No, your guess is as good as mine. I have no idea.
I heard it both ways, and
Prospetov sounds kind of cooler to me.
They both sound awful, to be honest. Like they both sound like we're mispronounced. They both sound like they're mispronouncements of his name. So I was just wondering.
One other storyline I'll just throw out there that I don't think a lot of people are talking about is Kuznetsov and Solovyov. Like we've been talking about these guys for like 2 or 3 years now. It's time for one of them to step up this season. It doesn't necessarily have to be in the preseason, but in the American Hockey League, I got to think one of those guys needs to step up and show that they're better than the AHL and that they should be NHL players. That'll be interesting to watch for me because there are spots open on that left side, especially like if someone goes down with injury, or if Joel Hanley's just not what he was last year and he struggles, if Jake Bean struggles, there's potentially a chance there for a guy like Kuznetsov or Solovyov to take it. So it'd be interesting to see how those two guys perform here in the preseason, and then also like the first 20-30 games of the American Hockey League year, or if they even get scooped up on waivers, like that's a possibility too.
It is. It really feels like Pooper get off the pot time for a couple of those guys. I would add Poirier into that mix as well. What is he?
Oh, he's done. There's no way. Do you think he has a chance? Because like he's in like Group C. Like he didn't even get into the preseason. Like I think it's over for him.
I never thought he had a chance, to be completely honest. But he was this highly touted prospect that Flames fell in love with, that they tried and tried and tried. So I would add those three guys in the same. We talked earlier about William Stromgren. I add those guys in the same exact column. It's time to show up, or we're going to move on, because coming behind you is a long list of highly skilled prospects who grew up playing this quote unquote newer style of hockey and who are ready to take your job. You're talking about guys like Misa's coming for up front. You got guys on the back end. Henry Muse will be around before you know it, and so on and so forth. So these guys have, like you mentioned, they're Solovyov, Kuznetsov. I think it's time to show something or move on, because if you can't make it in Calgary and you can't, all due respect, beat out Jake Bean for a job, then you're not an NHLer, in my opinion. And it's time to move on.
It's too bad with him too. Like that injury, that skate laceration on his arm just derailed his career.
Yeah.
Because he was going to get called up with Zary and Pospisil in 2023?
Yeah.
He was going to get called up with them, and he was off to a remarkable start in the AHL. And that stupid injury, it literally derailed his career, which is a damn shame. It really sucks, because I thought there was potential there for him to be an NHLer.
He was dynamic in the junior leagues. He was very, very good at what he did. So yeah, defensively, I never thought he had it there, but offensively, you couldn't deny what he could bring to the table for sure. We all have more storylines to watch as preseason goes along. We'll have more things to talk about for sure. But Robert, anything else you want to bring up on the show? If not, please let the folks know what's coming up on flamesnation.ca and where they can find your work.
Yeah, I think we got a whole bunch of articles coming out in the near future, like setting expectations for each player heading into the season, which should be some good reads in there. So check that out, and within the next week or so, there's that. And yeah, just follow me on X for highlights. There was lots of good interactions yesterday, especially on the Zane Parekh clips I posted, which was fun. So follow along, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the preseason here, and ultimately having it over and done with, because preseason hockey is not great.
He is Ring of Fire CGY on social media. I'm Vintage Johnny 84 across social media. And of course, the show is Red Mile Rundown. Don't forget about that new Facebook fan page. Appreciate those who have liked that and subscribed. And thanks to everyone for being here and making us part of your podcast rotations. We'll be back next week with more preseason overreaction, because that's what we like to do here on the Red Mile Rundown. Have a great week. Enjoy the hockey.